Hey everyone. Well, the Democrats are showing their true violent colors yet again. I didn't know this yesterday when I made my video, but someone posted online right before a scheduled protest outside the Texas Capitol building, protesting in support of the Democrats and against the redistricting map. And someone had actually posted online to go and unalive anyone who won't let the Texas Democrats leave without supervision.
The redistricting fight taking a new turn tonight. The Texas Department of Public Safety forced protesters off the state capitol grounds this evening after a reported threat. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Jennifer Sanders.
I'm Daniel Marin. DPS just released a statement saying a person posted the threat on social media. The department says, quote, in that message, the individual calls on others to go to the Capitol building and take action by shooting and killing those who will not allow lawmakers to leave. Now, the original crowd of demonstrators gathered to support Democratic lawmakers who plan to spend the night in the House chamber.
And the legislators are protesting their assigned law enforcement escorts imposed after the weeks-long quorum break. KXAN's Grace Reeder is outside the state capitol with the latest.
These protesters had to move outside because the Capitol grounds were closed a little before 7 p.m. A law enforcement source telling KXAN a threat was made via social media. We were there as the building was evacuated.
So we got a little rowdy. We started chanting some loud chants, and right as soon as we were done, here comes the captain or whatever to say that there's an imminent shooter threat. Apparently he had a video, showed it to our other organizer.
Let's talk about why these folks are upset in the first place, backing all the way up to a request from President Donald Trump that Texas change its congressional map to add more Republicans to the mix. That redistricting call was added to the special session, and Democrats were upset about that. So many fled the state 2 weeks ago, making it so the House couldn't reach quorum, meaning they didn't have enough members to conduct business. Now back, those Democrats were told they would need a DPS escort to leave the Capitol and ensure they come back as redistricting makes its way to the full House on Wednesday. But one representative, Nicole Collier, said no and slept in this chamber behind me as a result. Today, additional lawmakers decided to join her, ripping up their DPS slips. They say they now intend to stay the night tonight as well, a move that's drawn significant attention nationwide. At this point, both sides using the phrase political theater to describe the other here.
It's just wrong. In my heart, I feel like it's wrong.
Except this
I drove
actually
here,
is political
um,
theater.
um, I walked right into the building without any assistance. And so now, because of the political theater, they're saying that we have to get permission to leave to come back. And while we're gone, we have to be in the custody of a DPS officer, and there's no crime that has been committed.
This is like bad kabuki theater. I'm talking like elementary, junior high level grade, dramatic actions that we're seeing happening here. I mean, that's all there is to say. This is pure theater.
As for what may happen here tomorrow, these protests are expected to continue. The full House will take up these congressional maps and are ultimately expected to pass one on party lines. The House reconvenes tomorrow at 10 a.m. Reporting from the Capitol, I'm Grace Reeder. Back to you.
All right, Grace, thank you very much. And NBC News reports Representative Collier has said that she will sleep in the Texas House through Labor Day if Republican leadership extends the escort requirement tomorrow. Now,
That's
as for the
retarded.
threat, DPS says it's trying to identify who posted the message on social media. Also, House Democratic Caucus Chair Jean Wu released a statement tonight thanking DPS and also condemning any threats against public servants or law enforcement.
And going in depth right now, in 2021, the Texas Supreme Court ruled that House rules at the state capitol are enforceable based on the Texas Constitution. At the time, lawmakers had fled the state and subsequently sued the governor and Speaker of the House for issuing warrants for their arrest. While the Travis County Court agreed with the quorum breakers, the Supreme Court of Texas stepped in to overturn the ruling, saying the House has the power to, quote, compel the attendance of absent members, adding, we are aware of no method of compelling an unwilling person to be physically in attendance at a particular place without the power of physical restraint.
These people just keep on showing us how little they care about actual democracy, how little they actually understand how it works, how little they actually look into anything, how they don't like the people on the street. I'm sure that the lawmakers that fled the state already knew that there were lawsuits against this map before they even fled the state. This is literal political theater. It is 100% political theater on the Democrat side, because as I've stated time and time again in all of my videos about this, there is a judicial process to go through after you vote on the map to take it to court and then let the court decide whether it was initially based on race or if it was actually legal gerrymandering. It's gerrymandering regardless, but all that they're doing is trying to take power back because the major Democrat states have already done this. Like I said yesterday, 38% of Californians voted for Republican in November, and they already only have 17% representation in the federal in Congress. So Gavin Newsom's proposed plan, if the citizens of California decide to vote to table their whole redistricting committee and allow the legislature to approve this map, would only give the 38% of voters who voted Republican in November 8% representation in their state. Y'all, like, these people already have less representation in their states for Republicans than the new redistricting map in Texas will give to Democrats, which is 21% representation, which, yes, that is gerrymandering. Is that necessarily the ideal picture of what redistricting looks like? No, it's not. But when you have New York at like 27% representation for like 43 or 48% of their voters, and then you have Illinois with 17% representation for like 40 something percent of their voters, and then you have California with its 52 seats and only 9 of them are Republican, and they want to reduce that to like 5 and give 8% representation to 38% of their constituents. That is a problem. Like, that's not fighting fire with fire. Texas is fighting fire with fire. California is doing something completely different. California is saying, I don't give a shit how you want to vote. I'm going to redraw this so that Republicans never win in this state ever again and have 0 representation in the House and the Senate. Period. Like, that's all that he's doing. It's absolutely disgusting. Now listen to this argument, because they're having arguments. Oh, by the way, the Texas House is actually voting on this probably right now. They've been talking about it and giving their statements and arguments for 6 hours already, and they should be voting on it anytime now, whether to pass the map or not pass the map. And they're probably voting on other things too. I believe that parents of flood victims are testifying as well today, so that's why it's part of the reason why it's taking so long. I haven't listened to all those arguments yet. I just started listening to what's going on. I'm probably not going to listen to all of it because it's, like I said, it's over 6 hours long. I just really care about the outcome. But let's take a look, because now California is in their talks right now. Of course, they're going to pass. Their legislature is 100% going to pass allowing this special election in November for their citizens to vote on whether or not to temporarily cancel the redistricting committee and allow the legislature to pass this map, giving Republicans 8% representation for California. So let's listen to some of these arguments, which are pretty fucking stupid, if you ask me. We won't watch the whole thing. It's 13 minutes long. We're just going to watch a little bit to get a feel for what the argument is from the Democrat lawmakers in California regarding this. They're calling it a state of emergency.
Do you have a question, or?
Just wanting to get your perspective on this, given that there will be a huge undertaking, and I want to find out what the organization is thinking about it.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Madam Chair and committee members, Jesse Salinas. I am the assessor, clerk, recorder, and register of voters for Yolo County. I'm also serving as president of the California Association of Clerks and Election Officials. So very honored to be here. Thank you very much for the question. And I can share with you that we are working diligently. We're a very collection of highly skilled professionals that are preparing for this election, this pending election that's coming up. And we are working diligently right now in preparing for the election and identifying the necessary sites and locations and preparing accordingly with that. We've also are working closely with the Secretary of State's office on follow-up details to ensure that this election is run as efficiently and effectively as possible moving forward.
Thank you so much. Any
But
other
definitely
questions or
not
comments
fairly.
from committee members? Vice Chair Macedo.
I will leave my feelings on this out of this because I have 15 minutes and I want to make sure that I get my questions answered. How can the legislature justify spending $235 million on a rush special election when core programs like education, healthcare, and wildfire prevention are being cut?
So
How?
first off, I want to say we're in this crisis because of the federal administration. And this election is going to
It's a
cost
crisis.
as much as a new ballroom that President Trump wants to build at the White House.
We have the fourth largest
That he is going to pay for himself. They always forget to mention that. He said he was going to pay for it out of his own pocket. And these people call this a crisis, a federal crisis. Why? Because Republicans finally won a fucking election? That's a crisis? Democracy is a crisis? People voting for who they wanted to vote for is a crisis? Now that they're back in power, trying to maintain power is a crisis? But when y'all gerrymander the shit out of your fucking states, that's not a crisis? When Democrats have been in power for the majority of the past 2 decades and run our country into the fucking ground, trying to transition kids, putting pride shit all over fucking grocery stores and in kindergarten classrooms, teaching kids, reading them children's books that have been written about teaching them about gender ideology, that's not a crisis? Giving children puberty blockers and then following up with hormones, therefore leading to sterilization, where females have to get a hysterectomy by 20 years old because their uterus is atrophied because it was never given the opportunity to grow and then it was stopped by hormones. That's not a crisis. And now 10 years later, they're all figuring out that it was all a big mistake, but now their bodies are mutilated and they can't have children or breastfeed. That's not a crisis, but this is a crisis because we all voted for Republican, and so many of us, like myself, switched to Republican because we saw all of the demonic shit that they were doing and decided to use our democratic power, our voting power, to vote in people that would stop it. That's a crisis. And now we want to redistrict so that we can overcome the power that you have built for yourselves in your states in order to not allow you to continue your demonic ways. That's a crisis? No, this is doing God's work, to be honest. This is doing God's work because y'all have created a moral crisis in this country. Disgusting.
economy in the world and a large budget, so we can't figure out how to fund those things. We're expecting the federal government to do that. My next question is, why was this urgency election necessary when no genuine emergency exists? The governor has not declared a state of emergency. Just feeling like we should sound the alarms is not enough.
Where's that
to
at?
do so.
Where's the emergency?
There's an urgency clause in here.
Again, this is a crisis brought upon us because of what the state of Texas is doing. If they would
no, you're just going to lose your power.
We would not be moving forward today.
Because you're
with
demons.
This urgency, it is a crisis. What is happening to our families, in our neighborhoods? This is how Californians have a direct response. And what is a
Oh no, Trump's getting criminals off the street. Oh my goodness. Law enforcement is actually able to do their fucking jobs. Oh Lord, oh no.
Occurring in the future that they want to see for this country.
So because you feel that way, but no real emergency has been declared, how will counties be reimbursed for these costs?
The Department of Finance will determine the cost for this election. That will be through the Secretary
Where's the money going to come from? Y'all are in debt.
Registrars to administer the election on November 4th.
Will they be paid in full upfront or left to bear the burden themselves?
The Secretary of State, I know perhaps we have folks here, or Madam Chair.
My understanding is the counties will be paid up front.
Is that in the language of the bill? Because counties like mine won't be able to do the election to the extent necessary.
As a former county elections official, this is something I care very deeply about, and we want to make sure the counties are made whole and they receive the funds up front.
So can we get that in the bill?
It is in the
It
bill.
is stated,
It
that's
is
so.
very,
Okay.
It is very clear that counties will be made whole to administer the election on November 4th.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that my county, who's very rural, is going to be taken care of.
I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on this, but I am, which it's on camera, so you won't have to. But I am pretty sure that they were handed this bill the night before they were expected to vote on it. I'm pretty sure that they have not had a chance to actually read this entire bill. I don't quote me, but that's what I'm thinking. I could be mixing it up with another bill in another state. Who knows?
You made a really great point that I have questions, but I do want to mention that you talk about disenfranchising minority communities. At the Independent Redistricting Commission hearings, they have translators available. To my knowledge, we have no translators available for this hearing. So talk about disenfranchising minority communities. What assurance do counties have that they will not be subject to unfunded mandates by being forced to carry out this rush process?
Again, it is stated in the bill and the analysis of the bill.
Can you point to the exact language in the bill
You
or your
have
attorneys?
the analysis before you.
I'm not
Again,
asking
we
for the
are making
analysis.
sure-
Answer
I'm
the
asking for
question.
bill language.
The Department of Finance will determine the cost of this election. And at the end of the day, we are going to ensure that the counties will have everything that they need to conduct a special election on November 4th.
Okay, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that you're saying that. What I am asking for is verbiage in legislation, and you have an attorney next to you that I'm sure participated in the drafting of this, as well as your ledge director. I'm asking for not just your testimony saying, we promise this is going to happen. I'm asking, and not in the analysis, because that's not legally binding.
I got it right here.
Okay.
Section 4A, it says,
Look at that woman's face. Like, how dare you to ask me to tell you what exactly is in the bill? Just take my word for it. You don't need to know what's in the bill. Like, why are you so fucking angry? Woman, what the hell? Like, she's just angry for no reason. Like, this is the lawmaking process. Answer the question. It's not that difficult. If you know the bill, answer it.
It is the intent of the legislature to ensure counties have sufficient funding to effectuate the November 4th, 2025 special statewide election. An amount is hereby appropriated from the general fund to the controller for the actual and reasonably necessary costs as determined by the director of finance for the counties to conduct.
That's enough of that. We don't need to hear anymore. You get the picture. They are insane. These people are absolutely insane. Calling this a crisis? No. Y'all are literally about to reduce Republican representation in your state from 17% to 8%. And like I said, over 38% of their voters voted for Republicans in 2024. So that 38% of voters is going to have 8% representation in their state. Is Texas gerrymandering? Yes, they are. But they're not doing anything different than what the Democrats have already been doing for decades. So tell me in the comments below, what do you guys think about all this? What do you think about the violent Democrats once again threatening the lives of people trying to do their jobs? What do you think about the California redistricting and all the statistics and all the numbers that I gave you? Leave a comment below, hit the like button, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any more content, and I'll see you on the next one.